Hello students, this is the second part in the chapter Indian Constitution. So far we have discussed some 15 to 20 questions with answers. So let us continue with the second part. So the question is, describe the importance of judiciary or explain the structure of judiciary, or the question may be asked like this: explain the three-tier structure of judiciary. So all the questions means the same thing here. So we have to explain the structure of judiciary system, and this is very important question from the exam point of view. So that is, this question is asked 5 to 6 times in the for 7 to 8 exams. So here the question may be they can ask us the structure of judiciary. So here we are going to discuss regarding the function of Supreme Court, High Court and subordinate courts, or they can ask a separate question that write the powers and functions of Supreme Court or the powers and functions of State High Court. So depending on the question you have to write the answer. So here for this question you have to explain all the courts, that is Supreme, High Court and subordinate courts, in short. So that depends on the marks. So for 5 marks you write it in short, but usually this question will be asked for 10 marks, and for 10 marks you need to write the maximum points. So first I am going to discuss what is the judiciary system, why it is required in the country. So it is quite natural that disputes or fights arises between the persons and between the different groups or community of people in the society. This leads to conflicts. So laws are framed to serve as a basis for resolving disputes. So therefore, the judicial system of a country takes up disputes and gives the judgments accordingly, uh, based on the laws. So in other words, the Indian judiciary and the laws play an important role in maintaining the peace and prosperity in the country. So our Indian Constitution of India has provided an integrated single judiciary system. So that is, we have a Supreme Court at the top and High Court in the middle, and the district courts or the subordinate courts at the bottom. So that is the hierarchical system. So means the Supreme Court is at the top level, so we call it as the apex court. So next will be the High Court and the subordinate courts. So the Supreme Court of India is at the top, so it is the highest judiciary authority. The High Court at the state level, they are subordinate to the Supreme Court, and subordinate courts at the district level, they are supervised by the high courts. So that is the hierarchy, and you have to write it in the correct order. First you have to write Supreme Court, High Court and subordinate courts or district courts. So next let us discuss uh, the formation and functions of the Supreme Court, or the question may be asked like this: describe the jurisdiction of Supreme Court. So this question is asked 3 times. So maybe this can be asked even for 5 marks or 10 marks. So let us discuss the functions of the formation and functions of Supreme Court. So first I am going to discuss the formation. The highest court of law in India is the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court protects the fundamental rights of the citizens. So the Supreme Court of our country is the highest apex court. So it is called the apex court because the Supreme Court is meant to be the last and the highest court which takes up the appeals against the judgments of the High Court of the state. So if the decision is given by the Supreme Court, then it is what it is, basically it is a final one. So therefore we call it as highest apex court, and its decisions are final in the constitutional matters and earlier decisions of various subordinate courts. So the Supreme Court is formed by an act of parliament and is basically located in New Delhi. So it consists of the Chief Justice of India and 26 other judges. The judges of the Supreme Court are and the Chief Justice of India are appointed by the President of India, so on the advices of the Union Cabinet and the Prime Minister of India. So now let us discuss the functions of the Supreme Court. So that is, it has the three kinds of powers of jurisdiction. The first one is original. second appellate, then third one is advisory. So original means it will hear a case for the first time, so that is original. Then appellate means to review or to change the lower court's decision, so that is appellate. Then advisory, to give opinion on specific issues of law. So next function is it acts as guardian of the fundamental rights of citizens. Then it acts as a guardian of our constitution. Then fourth power or function is it resolves the disputes between the center and the state or between the states. So because of some reasons, sometimes what will happen, there will be some disputes between the state, right? For example, maybe concerned with the water problems or anything. So for example, there is what dispute between the Maharashtra and the Karnataka for Mahadai Yojane. So that so such things will be resolved by the Supreme Court. So right, it is going to hear the cases from both the lawyers, the uh, concerned with the state, and it is going to hear the statements. Later it is going to give the decisions. So next it gives the advices to the President of India when it is sought. So these are what some of the functions or powers of Supreme Court. So next question is explain the formation and functions of State High Court. Again, this can be asked even for 5 marks or 10 marks. So High Court, as I told, they are at the middle level in the hierarchy of judiciary, and they are subordinate to the Supreme Court. So the High Courts have full control over the subordinate courts in the state. So our constitution establishes a High Court in each state, but the Parliament may establish by law a common High Court for 2 or even more states. For example, there is a single court in Chandigarh for Punjab and Haryana state. So but in almost all the state we have a High Court, but in some cases we find for 2 states or more than 2 states we have a common High Court. So composition for the High Court, every High Court consists of a Chief Justice and other judges if they are required. So the judges of the High Courts are appointed by the President of India by consulting Chief Justice of India, the Governor and the Chief Justice of the concerned state. So the Chief Justice and other judges hold their office up to 62 years of age, and he or she may be removed by the President of India. So let us see the functions of the State High Court. So like the Supreme Court, the High Court also acts as a court of record. So the High Court can frame the required rules to carry out its judicial functions. So it has the power to control all subordinate courts. Then it can issue one rule regarding the working of subordinate courts. So it can ask the details of the proceedings from the subordinate courts. Next, it can transfer any case from one court to another court. So it has the power to investigate into the record or other concerned documents of any court subordinate to it. Then each High Court has the power to appoint its administration staff, and it can determine their salaries, allowances and other conditions of service. Then last function is the appointment, the promotion and posting of the district judges is made by the governor, so in consultation with the High Courts. So these are what some of the functions of State High Court. So let us discuss, explain the formation and function of subordinate courts. Again, this can be asked for 5 marks or 10 marks. So the subordinate courts which functions under the High Courts of the concerned state, which includes mainly 3 courts, that is district courts, magistrate courts as well as junior magistrate courts. So the district courts, they operate at the district level, whereas the magistrate courts, they operate at the taluka level. Then the junior magistrate courts we find in city or town or cities. Then second one is the subordinate courts are of 2 types, that is civil courts and criminal courts. So basically the civil courts they are meant for what? In order to resolve the conflicts related with the dispute matters of property, money transactions, contractual agreements are taken up for hearing and judgments are passed accordingly. So the criminal courts, they are going to solve the problems concerned with the crime matters such as the murder, robbery, theft. So they are taken up for hearing and the judgments are passed accordingly. Then a person to be a district judge should have an experience of minimum 7 years as an advocate and should be recommended by the High Court. Then recently we find the Lok Adalat or the People's Court that have came up that function faster and are less expensive to deliver justice. So this is all about the function of subordinate court. So what I had told just now, it is there in the same slide. So right, next question is explain the federalism in the Indian Constitution. So this may be asked for 5 months or 10 months, but most of the time we find this question for 5. So the Indian Constitution defines the power distribution between the federal government, that is the central, or we call it as union, and the states in India. So the power is divided between the legislative, administrative and executive powers. So basically the article 1 of the Indian Constitution declares that India shall be the union of states. So therefore the power is divided between the legislative, administrative and executive powers. So the legislative section is divided into 3 lists, and that is the union list, state list and concurrent list. So the constitutional powers given to each state, they are not same. So the same thing, the states of Jammu and Kashmir were accorded with higher degree of federalism, whereas the states of Puducherry and Delhi, they are accorded lesser degree of federalism. So the union territories are directly governed by the union government. So next we are going to discuss describe briefly about division of powers, that is union list, state list and concurrent list. So according to the Indian Constitution, the division of powers are defined in the following ways, that is union list, state list and concurrent list. So we go through one by one. So we'll see what is union list. The union list consists of 100 items on which the parliament has exclusive power to legislate. So different example that comes under the union list are, so it is defense, armed forces, atomic energy, foreign affairs, railways, shipping and navigation, airways, post and telegraph, then wireless and broadcasting, currency, banking, insurance, mineral and oil resources, electronics, income tax, organization of Supreme Court and High Court, then duties of UPSC. So all these are what? They come under union list here, and the parliament has the exclusive power to legislate. And next comes the state list. Basically the state list consists of 61 items on which the state has exclusive power to legislate. So the different examples for the state list are maintaining law and order in the state, then police forces, then healthcare, transport, then land policies, electricity in the state, then village administration, etc. So all these comes under the state list. The state has exclusive power to make laws on these subject. So that is the difference between the union list and the state list. So here in case of state list, the state has the exclusive power to make the laws on these whatever the subjects items what I told. They can make laws on these items. And there comes third one, concurrent list. So in this case, both the parliament and the states will going to have the powers as per the directions from the Constitution of India. So the concurrent list consists of 52 items. The different examples for concurrent list are, so marriage and divorce, transfer of property other than agricultural land, education, contracts, adulteration of foodstuffs, drugs and poisons, economic and social planning, electricity, newspapers, books, and printing press, etc. So all these comes under concurrent list. So next question is, describe the structure of state legislation. So basically this may be asked for 5 marks. So we are going to discuss. So the state legislation is divided into 4 sections mainly. So we have a governor at the top, and the chief minister in the second place, and we have council of ministers, they are what, state cabinet, and one legislative assembly, so that is Vidhan Sabha, or if the state has two houses, so they are called legislative council, it is also called Vidhan Parishad, and legislative assembly, it is also called Vidhan Sabha. So, according to the Constitution of India, the state legislature consists of a governor of the state and one or two houses of the state legislature. So, most of the states in India consist of only one house called the Legislative Assembly, and in few states like Karnataka and Uttar Pradesh etc. So, we find the two houses called Legislative Assembly and Legislative Council. So next we are going to discuss what are the functions of state legislature. So this question was asked in the semester exams once for 5 marks. So first we'll discuss what are the function. First function is it can make laws on all matters of state. Second, it controls the financial matters, that is all the revenues and expenditures. It passes money bills, etc. Third one, it controls the work of all the ministry of the state. Fourth, it can remove the council of ministers by passing no confidence motion. Then fifth one, it can elect the speaker and deputy speaker. Last one is it can take part in the president elections. So that is the main function of the state legislature. So next question is, state the position and powers of governor. So this was asked once in the exam. So again this may be asked for 5 marks or 10 marks. Again I told depending on the marks you have to think and you have to write the answer. So first we are going to discuss what is the position of the governor. So the executive power of the state is given to the governor, and all the execution action of the state has to be taken in the name of the governor. Just like in the center or union we have a president, so the executive power of the center is given to the president. In the same way, the executive power in the state is given to the governor. Second, it is one of the highest honors and dignity and position in each state. So the governor will have the highest position in the state. So the governor of the state has been appointed by the president of India. So right, the president has the power to appoint the governors of the state. Then fourth one, he will be removed by the president at any time. Even the president has the power to appoint, or he can remove at any time, or even he can transfer the governor from one state to another state. That is one more function. Then he will be appointed for a period of 5 years, and in order to become a governor of the state, the person has certain conditions, right? He has to pass through certain criteria. So that is the first one is he must be a citizen of India. He must have completed the age of 35 years at least. Then he should not hold any office of profit. Then he should not a member of parliament or a state legislature. So this is what regarding the position. Next we will discuss the functions and powers of governor. So first function is he appoints the chief minister, and on his advice the appoints other ministers. Then addresses the joint session of Vidhan Sabha and Vidhan Parishad. And third one is he appoints the state advocate general, then chairman and members of KPSC, then vice chancellor of universities. Then Fourth one is he give assent or dissent over the bills passed by the legislature. Fifth one, in charge of the state administration during president rule. He gives oath of office to the chief minister and to all other ministers. Seventh, he determines the questions of appointments, postings, promotion, etc. of subordinate courts. Then he dismisses the ministry when they refuse to quit after losing their majority. So these are what some of the functions of the governor. Next, state the powers and functions of chief minister. Again, this is asked once in the exam. So the first power or function is he appoints the ministers of the state. Then he allots the portfolio to all the ministers and he can appoint them as cabinet ministers. Then he can recommend the removal of ministers. Then he is the communicator between council of ministers and governor. Then he approves all major financial bills, revenues, etc. Then sixth one is he maintains the order and discipline in the legislative assembly. Then he can approve the major appointments in the state. Then he can also prepare state budget and present it in assembly for approval. So that's last one is he will play a key role in appointing the top state government, for example DGP, so that is Director General of Police, and even the Principal Secretary and the directors of various departments, so that is appointed by the Chief Minister itself. Next one is explain the role or functions of State Council of Ministers. This may be even asked for 5 marks. So the first function is they perform the individual work which has been assigned by the Chief Minister. Next, the cabinet ministers can take major decisions on the behalf of the Council of Ministers. Third, to assist the Chief Minister in the governance of state administration. Then the fourth one, to exercise control over the respective department administration. And fifth one is to prepare the state budget and the various bills and present them in the assembly for discussion and approval. Sixth one, to travel across the state to understand and take survey of the various problems of the people of the respective constituencies. Next question is explain the formation of 3-tier system of local self-government, or the question may be asked like this, or explain the 3-tier panchayat system. So this is an important question which is asked for 10 marks, and once it is asked in the exam. So in our country the 3-tier panchayat system is practiced for rural self-governing institutions. They are what the gram panchayat, or we call it as village panchayat. They are located for villages or group of villages, and we have a taluk panchayat for taluka level or a block level, and a zilla panchayat for district level. So the question may be like this: describe the role or function of gram panchayats in community upliftment. So why the gram panchayats are required? So that is the question. So as per the Panchayat Raj Act, a village or group of villages in Karnataka, population of around 5,000 to 7,000 villagers, can form their own village panchayats called their local rural self-governing body. So the members of village panchayats, they are elected by the people of age 18 and above, and they belong to that local panchayat area itself. Then usually one people representative is elected for every 400 villagers per voters, and few seats are reserved for SC, STs, backward sections and women representatives. The term of village panchayat is basically 5 years. The village panchayat is headed by the chairman, is elected among the members of village panchayat, and vice chairman to assist the chairman. So the term of office of the chairman and vice chairman is 30 months. So let us discuss about the functions of gram panchayat. So that is agricultural development, then watershed development and irrigation development. Third one is minor forest development, then to support khadi and cottage industries, then to provide pure drinking water and prevent water pollution, then to promote sanitation and sewage waste management by providing underground drainage system, then to encourage animal husbandry, poultry and fisheries work, then to provide for ration distribution system, and ninth one is libraries, cultural activities, family welfare and health programs or developments, then to encourage adult education, primary and higher education. So same thing, just like we have gram panchayat, the functions of gram panchayat. The question is the state and explain the functions of taluk panchayat. The functions performed by the gram panchayat and taluk panchayat, they remain same, but only difference is that it does all the functions as the village panchayat at the taluka level, but in large scale, that depends on the population. So the first function is rural housing and electrification, then land management, conservation of soil and forest, then implementing public health care and family welfare, then construction of roads, water tanks and buildings, then implement irrigation projects and drinking water schemes, then implement support programs for SC and ST and backward classes, then implement ration or public distribution system, then extend support to primary and higher education, then encourage rural cottage industries, khadi gramodyoga schemes. So all these are what the functions performed by the taluka panchayat. So same thing, the question is the state explain the functions of jilla panchayat. As I told, jilla panchayat performs all the functions as village and taluka panchayats, but in larger scale, that is at the district level. So it includes what the land development and irrigation works, then buildings and road construction, encourage cooperative society activities, then supervise or coordinate all development works at the district level, then implement drinking water schemes, dairy and poultry development, then establish and monitor primary and high schools, then implement primary health care and family welfare programs, then support small scale industries, horticulture and agricultural development. So next question is why urban local bodies are needed? List any 8 functions of urban local bodies. So this is asked once in the exam. So the question may be asked for 5 or 10 marks. So for the local governance of urban areas like towns and cities, and to solve the problems of residents of urban areas, so urban local bodies have been formed. So urban local bodies, they are classified into municipalities for towns and cities and city corporations. So nowadays the city corporations at larger scale and capacities for upcoming metro cities, state capitals have also been constituted. They are called Brahat Mahanagar Palike. For example, I told BBMP. So in Bangalore there is a Palike called Brahat Bengaluru Mahanagar Palike, and MMP is Mumbai Mahanagara Palike. So various functions performed by the urban local bodies are, so first one is management of overall administration, then provision for facilities of drinking water, health, sanitation, roads, electricity, education, market, etc. Then preparation of good master plan for the development and growth of urban areas and executing it, then construction and maintenance of bus stations, swimming pools, museums, stadiums, community halls, reading rooms, public libraries, wholesale and retail markets, veterinary hospitals, parks, etc. Then arrangement for the urban waste disposal and cleanliness, then encouragement of cultural, literary and sports activities, and establishment of orphanages, old age homes and child welfare centers, then improvement of living conditions in slum areas, then registration of births and deaths, then undertaking measures for the progress of backward and weaker sections. So these are what some of the functions performed by the urban local bodies. So next question is list the types of local self-governing institutions. This is asked once in the exam. So we have town and city municipalities, city corporations, Brahat Mahanagarpalike, we have Gram Panchayat, Taluka Panchayat, Jilla Panchayat. So all these are what? The different types of local self-governing institutions. So next question is, explain the composition, term and functions of municipal corporations or city corporations. So this is asked for 10 marks once in the exam. So first we are going to discuss composition and term. So the city corporations are formed in larger cities with a population crowd of more than 3 lakh people. So city corporations are also called municipal corporations. So the members of the city corporations are elected by the people of that particular area and represent various wards of that city limit. Then fourth point, the elected members of city corporations are called corporators. Then the total members of elected corporators vary from corporation to corporation and depends upon the population of that area, usually between 30 to 100. Then elected members of corporation elect among corporators one person as mayor and another as deputy mayor. So the term of office of corporators is 5 years. Then the mayor and deputy mayors are elected for a period of 1 year term. And the various functions performed by the city corporations are: first one, providing electricity to and maintenance of public streets, public markets, public roads in the city. Then sanitation, sewage waste and garbage removal. Then pollution control. Then providing pure drinking water and management of water supply. Then registration of birth and death record. Then town planning and giving permission to house construction and maintenance of public gardens, parks and playgrounds. Seventh, construction and maintenance of roads in the city limits. Then naming, numbering of roads and streets, regulation of land use and control over sites plan, approval and building construction. Last one is collection of taxes, fees, penalties on land and use and property taxes. So I quoted some of the functions here. Even it is going to perform so many other functions. So next question is, explain in detail composition, term and functions of Election Commission of India. So that is 10 marks question. This is asked once in the exam. So Election Commission of India is a single permanent constitutional body. Basically it is established for conducting free, fair and regular elections to set a democratic government in the center or in the different states of the country, and elections to the president and vice president of India. So it is an independent body which performs its work without the influence and interference of any political parties or executives. So the chief election commissioner shall be the chairman of election commission along with other 3 members. So election commissioner holds the office for 6 years, but they have to retire if they attain the age of 65 years. So next question, that is describe the role of chairman, then leader of the house, then opposition leader in Rajya Sabha. This was asked once in the exam for 10 marks. So first we are going to discuss what is the role of chairman in the Rajya Sabha. The vice president of India is ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha. During the absence of vice president, the deputy chairman of the Rajya Sabha presides over the meetings. The position of the vice president as the chairman of Rajya Sabha is one of the esteem and dignity. So his powers in Rajya Sabha includes admitting members to the floor, deciding points of order, maintaining order and disciplines in the house, deciding issues and announcing results. Next, the leader of the house. So each house of parliament has a leader. So the senior most minister, who is the member of Rajya Sabha, is appointed by the prime minister as the leader of the house in the Rajya Sabha, and the prime minister, who is the leader of the majority party in the Lok Sabha, functions as the leader of the house in the Lok Sabha. Then leader of the opposition. So each house of parliament has a leader of the opposition. So the leader of the opposition is the politician who leads the official opposition in either house of the Parliament of India. So in order to get a formal recognition, the concerned party must have at least 10% of the total strength of the house. For example, if the total strength in the house is 550 or 545, so 10% of that means it is almost equal to 55, 54. And to become the opposition leader in the Rajya Sabha, so they must get the seat at least 55. That is the meaning. Thank you.